Okay, don't freak out. This is exactly the same mug as from the thumbnail over there. Lots of big changes have been happening just recently. This is just one of them. If you follow me over on TikTok, same handle over there, you would understand more why. So, to the point. Sometimes setting your set when you're weaving can be super frustrating so that you get that pattern nice and even, and so that you can be sure that there's not too big a gaps or too small a gaps and everything fits together just perfectly. So let's simplify this a lot. There's two things you're going to want to remember, and we'll jump into those in just a minute. So first, say you've got some yarn. You don't really know what the gauge is. I mean, like, let's take, for example, this Zeolana Heron. A friend of mine brought me this back from New Zealand, actually. And this is 80% fine merino and 20% brush possum, of all things, which is really, really cool. Who would have thought that you could spin, and use possum fur in weaving or knitting or whatever. But you have some of this. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of a stitch gauge. See, like so. This one has a 1-inch gap right here. So what you do is you just wrap the yarn around this, and there's usually something on here that tells you how many wraps, what gauge yarn it is per inch, so how many wraps per inch. But we're going to use this a little bit different way. Okay, let's start wrapping our yarn around this thing. You want to make sure that when you're wrapping it, that it's going to be under about the same amount of tension that you're using when you're going to be weaving. So we're going to start wrapping, and we will buzz on forward to the end. Okay, we're completely wrapped. It looks like we've got 13 wraps for the inch. Now, according to this little gauge right here, it says that it's probably a DK or a worsted. That's somewhere between 12 and 14 wraps per inch. We don't really need to know that information for weaving, but what we do need to know is how many wraps we have. So we have 13. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to divide that. So if you're going to do tabby weaving, which is just your basic over-under weave, what we're going to do is we're going to divide that by 2, which in this case would give us 7.5.
Okay, so my math wasn't mathing earlier today, and the actual answer is 6.5. We'll round that up to 7.
So what I always tend to do is I round up to the next number, which is 8. That means you're going to have 8 ends per inch when you weave. So if you have a reed that is 8 dents per inch, that's the one you're going to want to use. Now, let's try another yarn. I just happen to have some beautiful alpaca right here that I used for another project. So let's start wrapping this bad boy and see how thin this yarn is. Very, very tiny. Again, we're going to wrap and we'll speed up to the end. So we've got 21 wraps on this. Now, according to my little gauge here, this says that it's probably a light fingering weight, which it really is if you're looking at knitting terms. But 21 wraps per inch, we're going to divide that by 2. So that's going to be 11.5.
Apparently my mathing is really off. Let's go with 10.5.
So remember, we're going to round up 1, and we're going to go with 12. So you want 12 ends per inch or 12 dents per inch. Let's do one more. All right, I have some Manos de Uruguay here. Beautiful, beautiful hand spun and kettle dyed yarn. And I love the color. So let's start wrapping this bad boy up. Okay, we've got 11. So divide that by 2, and it looks like we're going to have 5.5.
Yay, I got one right.
So again, round up, and we're going to have 6 ends per inch. Now this is for a normal tabby weave. So let me tell you a little secret about, so we've got tabby weave, and we're gonna do 1/2 of the amount of wraps that you have on your gauge, okay? So wrap it around a ruler or something like that, or something that's 1 inch long, count the number of wraps that you have, divide it by 2, you've got your set. Now, if you're going to do some sort of a twill pattern, which this is actually a twill, and typical plaids that you see are twill patterns, they're going to be a little bit different. You're going to want to go with 2/3 of the amount. So say, for example, we were using this nice alpaca right here, and we had 21 wraps per inch. This is easy to divide by 3. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. So we want 2/3. And so what we're going to do, multiply that by 2, 14. For this particular yarn, we want to have 14 ends per inch. Okay? Hope that simplifies the set. And if you've never spun before and you want to give it a try so you can spin nice yarns like this, go check out this video right here.